it's Teresita Blanco, dear sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Melina. This is chapter 7, The Lords. News of Sir William's death took 4 months to reach the ears of the Lords. The Lords were a highly sophisticated group of law enforcing berserkers. Their headquarters was in Veraguero, naturally. However, they had small branches all over the kingdom. Their prime directive was enforcing the law of the kingdom. Normally, this role was relegated to the knights and guards under each individual feudal. This system led to abnormalities regarding the rule of law and the punishment system. And whenever the lords suspected the feudal laws were not following the laws of the king, they would come to the feudal and rectify it by any means they thought necessary. They were also involved in high-profile cases involving the murders of public officials. Naturally, the bizarre death of Sir William Hollow fell under their directive. The Lords approached this case with caution, since the cult of Mio had deep ties within Sassari, and all of Sassari's citizens worshipped the goddess. And as the goddess of love, she was invoked whenever a person embarked on a task that they truly loved. In the middle of it all was the disdainful Melina. Despite not worshipping the goddess, she spoke often on the goddess's behalf. And the Lord feared that mistreatment of Melina could cause a mass riot, and Sassari was an important territory for their king. On the other hand, the Hollow family had influences all over the kingdom, and they would not be satisfied until Melina was burned at the stake for being a witch or something. When the Lords first arrived to the Danes' pavilion, they found Melina in her hammock. Her little elf boy was running all over the gardens wearing a knight's helmet, and he bumped into Lord Selot. When he lifted his helmet, he winced when he saw the stern faces of the lords. He then went to hide behind the child and went to hide behind a bush. Lord Selot Roland, the Furious, was in his late 50s. He was still a stout man with a hint of gray hairs. He had retired from the battlefield to focus on his little side project, raising a family. When he quit the field work, he was reassigned to the stable, safer profession of lord. When Lord Selot saw Melina, he frowned. She looked so sweet and innocent rocking on her hammock. He could not, with a straight face, convict such a sweet maiden. And guessing his friend of mine, one of the men commented, "A poisoner, perhaps. She doesn't seem to like any magical talent." Without looking at Lord Selot, Melina said, "You come to place me under house arrest, but there's no need to do so. Impede never allows me to leave the palace grounds." "So you were expecting us," said Lord Selot sitting beside her. "Yes, I know we're traveled slowly in this region, and I knew that sooner or later the berserkers would come for me," said Melina, yawning. Lord Selot smiled when he heard Melina, and it was unusual to see Lord Selot handling a felon with kid gloves. However, it was refreshing for Selot to hear criminals speak of their deeds so earnestly. And like the rest of the berserker kind, Lord Selot had the innate ability to tell when someone was lying to him. Well, not like an ability, it's like a curse. They were cursed with truth, so you can't, like, if they read a parchment and like the words over there are falsehood, they'll know that like it's not just being a lie detector with people, it's with everything, cause it's like a curse. Melina said, looking at Selot, and then she said, "When is my execution?" "We did not come to execute you. We just came to find out the truth. If you are innocent, then you have nothing to fear from us," said Selot, bowing. "Must we go through this charade? The lot of you has already decided upon my death. And you claim to see the truth of the world, and yet you will convict an innocent person to satisfy your own selfish desires," said Melina, standing up. She turned her back to Selot to gaze at the lake. Selot's ears turned red, and a faint vein was tracing itself across his forehead, and he was quickly losing his patience with the maiden, and it took much effort to restrain his anger. He was no longer a warrior, but a lord, and he had to comport himself as such. In the end, he said, "The trial is going to take place in a month. Why not have it tomorrow? It is not as if whatever evidence you gather will exonerate me," said Melina, and she added, "No. You will go way out of your way to convict me, but be warned, I will not go quietly into the night." After this conversation, Melina was placed under house arrest in her bedroom, and Fanny and her little elf boy shared in her captivity. They spent technically the house arrest was more symbolic than anything else. And Melina was allowed to leave her room while escorted by 2 lower guards, and the rest of the Lord spent their time questioning those who had attended the unveiling ceremony. And samples of the red anemone flower were sent to Veragheron and the towers of Suberos to have it analyzed. Neither the Archmagos nor Belladonna found any traces of magic in the anemone flowers. The inquest lasted for 3 weeks, and during the final days of the inquest, Lord Sela visited Melina in her bedroom, and he found her stitched in a dress whose seam had come loose, and sitting down beside her, he asked, "If you truly wish to escape with your head, I advise you manifest your goddess in the public trials." And how do you suppose I do that?" said Melina, raising her voice. "That's not my problem," said the Lord Sela, shuddering. "Seeing is believing, my dear Thomas," said Melina, not looking up. How does your goddess talk with you?" said Lord Sela in earnest. "She talks to me the way you talk to a regular person, and she knows I can see and hear her. So we chat every so often," said Melina in a nonchalant fashion. "How can you see her, if even the strongest wizards cannot gaze upon the gods?" asked the Lord Sela. "It is simple. Most of their powers comes from the gods. Ergo, the gods can choose to deny the mages the ability to gaze upon their awesomeness," explained Melina. Since magic uses they draw the powers from the gods can just make themselves invisible to them. But since she's not bound by their influence, her second sight is can't be blocked because she's not empowered by the local deities. Said Sela thoughtfully, rubbing his chin, and then he nodded and said, "Do you have a public defender?" "Impede has a few lawyers here and there, but none sound too promising. I think I will have a better shot if I represent myself," said Melina. "That won't do, Melina. As a woman, you're not allowed to speak for yourself in open court. The judge will never allow it," explained Lord Sela. "I know the drill. It's fine. I have a guy coming. He's familiar with my case, and he can speak on my behalf," said Melina, yawning. "Ah, so what are your man's credentials?" asked Lord Sela. "Well, he has never won a case in this world, nor has he ever entered in any of your courts, and he's not familiar with the laws of the kingdoms, and he does not hail from any noble blood," said Melina, smiling. Laughing, Lord Sela got up and said, "It's your funeral." Before the era of Versailles, the trial system was a royal mess. Guilt or innocence was determined by subjecting the accused to an ordeal. If the accused survived, then the person was innocent, and it was believed that the gods would interfere on behalf of the innocent party and perform a miracle. And the system had been abolished 60 years ago, and many of the judges in Melina's time still remember such fiascos. As things stood, the Lord's court was presided by 3 judges, 2 from the accused region and an official judge from Veragheron. A jury of the accused's peer was supposedly chosen at random, and the Lord would represent all of the facts involving the case. And they would then open the floor for rebuttal, and the witness would then take the stand. After such testimonies were over, the jury would go to another room and unanimously decide whether the victim was innocent or guilty. If the accused was guilty, then it was up to the 3 judges to decide on a suitable punishment. The trial took place in the open court, and the place chosen for the court was the assembly hall, with a high stand for the 3 judges and a podium for the accused and a throne-like chair for the witnesses. On the left side, there was a row of chairs for the jury. The prosecuting lawyer and the defendant's lawyer were supposed to stand while each gave their testimony. The trial took place around noon, and the Hall of Family had made arrangements to have Melina be brought into the court in a cage. And much to their displeasure, the rods were thrown at the armed escort, and the Lord removed the chains from Melina's arm, and she sat on her stool. Yawning, she lazily rested her head on her hands. Lord Sela was pacing impatiently to and fro, and Melina's lawyer was supposed to have come 5 hours ago, and there was suddenly a lot of commotion outside, and in the end the doors were parted to allow the entrance of Melina's lawyer. The man was unlike anything that Lord Sela had ever seen. The man wore a strange armor. His breastplate was a perfect replica of a man's abdomen. It had leather-strapped shoulder and the bottom for a skirt, and below it he wore a red dress with a white short sleeves, and the armor had 2 golden medallions holding the long red cape in place. The court had spent his time illustrating the long character. Like he was the battle with imagine a Roman legionnaire, like a Roman-looking person just walks in there to be the lawyer. Aside from his strange armor, the man was 2 meters tall and was stout to boot. His eyes were a strange brownish color, whose shades were not uniform. His short hair was pitch black, When Melina saw her lawyer, she said, "Took you long enough. I almost thought you weren't coming." "Not that my presence would matter much, seeing as though Stralis Rick," said Melina's lawyer in a hissing voice. "Not that my presence seems." When the local audience heard this, they grew restless. The Hollow family shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Melina then said to the judge, "This is my lawyer Titus of Dokai, and he will speak on my behalf during this proceeding." Lord Sela nodded, and one of the judges said, "Proceed." While Lord Sela showed the evidence he had collected, Titus would interrupt him by saying, "Objection, Your Honor," and somewhat annoyed Lord Sela asked, "Are you talking to me?" "No, to the judges," said Titus. "And what do you object to?" asked the judge Nigel of Sassari, Johnny. Lord Sela is presenting the evidence in a way which paints my client in the grimmest fashion, and I must also add that most of the evidence is based on suppositions and hearsays. "And you have also failed to mention the fact that my client lacks magical powers," said Titus, gesturing with his hands. Lord Sela was not used to being interrupted so often, and then he said in a hoarse voice, "Silence, outsider, and you will have your turn to say your piece. On the meantime, shut up." Cause their constitution doesn't allow the judge. You know how like in modern day lawyers they be like, "Objection, objection." No. Like in these people, no. Every person says their piece with no interruptions, even if they're just saying hogwash most of the time. You're not allowed to object. But then they be like, "Why you keep interrupting me? Shut up." Lord Sela continued with his findings in a hurry, and this time he took care to be clearer to the point, to get the charade out of the way. And while he spoke, the jury pretended to consider the Lord's report. When it was time for Titus to speak, and he started as thus: "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, I move for a mistrial on the grounds of jury tampering. The men assembled in the jury do not represent Melina's peer. All of them belong to the respectable families and are thus not acquainted with the nature of Mio's cult. And a good number have received bribes, and the rest have a predisposition to convict my client for the sole reason of being on trial or being too pretty." The judges started mumbling amongst one another, and two of the judges from Sassari wanted to move for a mistrial and exonerate Melina, and the judge from Veragero was vehement that the trial would continue. And in the end, Judge Regis from Veragero said, I will allow it." He'll allow it, yeah. You be tampering, but he'll allow it. Shrugging his shoulders, Titus said, "Suit yourself, but this is certainly hurting your credibility, not mine." "Keep talking like that, I know how you get flogged for showing contempt in court," said Judge Regis. "Time, bro?"
11 minutes.
"Fine, I'll be good," said Titus, chuckling. All the while, Melina had fallen asleep, and it was the first time Garrett had seen Melina genuinely sleeping. The judge, Dovalier of Sassari, then said, "Lord Sela, show your first witness." Before Lord Sela could even open his mouth, Titus yelled, "Objection, Your Honor. Lord Sela was thinking of bringing a witness that did not attend the unveiling ceremony. Ergo, the person's testimony will not have no relevance to this case." Just Duvalier asked Sela, "Is this true, my lord?" "Hardly," said Lord Sela. "The witness is here to speak of Melina's character, and she will shed light on whether Melina has a violent temperament or not." The witness was one of Melina's governess, and trembling from head to toe, Maud Ferguson sat in the chair and started as those. "That girl is a monster, a demon, and she may look even innocent, but there is only pure evil in her heart." And all I did was strike her hands with a ruler to correct her impudence, and suddenly she turned and attacked me like a wild animal, and I'm glad that she's finally getting what's coming to her. Titus went up to Sela and asked him, "May I badger your witness?" "It is not customary, but you may. I am eager to see what you would do in this part," said Lord Sela, chuckling. And standing before her, Titus said, "Molly, do you remember when you were 5 when your own governess used to hit you?" "That was a long time ago, sir," said Ma, lowering her hand. "Did you enjoy it when she struck you?" asked Titus. "No, sir," said Ma. "So then why do you strike my client?" asked Titus. "Because she wasn't doing what I asked. All of the governors do it. Corporal punishment is a standard procedure in child-rearing," explained Ma. "Ah, in this you earn, my lady, for you see, according to the laws of nature, nymphs are considered adults when they turn 5, and as such you were not striking a little girl, but a grown woman, and as a grown woman she was in her right to defend herself, and as you yourself have done whenever you engage in catfights with your sister," said Titus. "How do you? I stopped fighting with my sister years ago," said Maud, taken aback. Lord Sela couldn't help but laugh when he heard Maud's life, and one by one Titus dissected all of the witnesses, and even Lord Sela had to admit that it was an interesting gimmick. and he meramente not to add Titus' methods to his repertoire. Eventually it came time for Titus to bring out his own witness, and Titus was silent for a moment, and then he went to Melina and he flicked his finger on her forehead, and this caused her to wake up, and Johnny, she said, "Is it over? Can I go home?" And she fell asleep in the dark, and then, I'm still here, this nonsense is still going. Titus whispered, "Who do you want to call to the stand?" "No one, just finish this already. This trial is boring me to tears," said Melina, yawning. And this time she did not care to cover her mouth, and the jury noted her beautiful, perfect white teeth. Judge Regis asked, "Is the defense ready with this case?" "Pity poo, Your Honor," said Titus. $1,100 gold fine for speaking in a foreign tongue," said Judge Regis. Titus got a pouch from behind his cape, and he took the pouch at the Judge Regis before saying, "I hope you choke on it." And Judge Valia interrupted Judge Regis by saying, "Please continue, Sir Titus." "I call to the witness stand Baron," said Titus, bowing in the direction of the crowd. "Baron what?" asked Lord Sailor, looking about. He did not know the existence of any barons willing to speak positively of Melina. A small elven boy pushed his way to the crowd, and Lord Sailor frowned when he recognized Melina's little page boy. Baron, he's not a baron, he's just a little boy called Baron. Baron had the loveliest reddish cheeks, and he was only matched by the charm of his rouged lips, and his face was as pretty as those of a little girl. In imitation of Titus, Lord Sailor said, "I object, Your Honor, the child does not have the legal age to require to testify in open court." "I am 12, Your Honor. I'm just a late bloomer," said Baron. The minimum age to testify in court was 12. Baron was in fact 5, and Lord Sailor knew that the little boy was lying. However, he was genuinely having a lot of fun in this trial, and Melina's Titus had managed to make this litigious process rather amusing. Titus said, "Tell me of Melina's character." "Melina took me in after my parents abandoned me, and a human who had taken in an elven boy, and she's kind to the servants and to the animals, and she made the clothing and weaving, and she also taught me how to speak the human tongue," said Baron. "May I badger your witness?" asked Lord Sailor. "If you must play the role of the big bully, then by all means," said Titus, giving a mocking bow. "Never mind," said Lord Sailor. And after Baron, Lucrezia, Imperia, and Franny testified, and all of the maidens spoke highly of Melina's character, and most had assumed that Imperia had abandoned Melina to her fate, and her public support of Melina was shaking the jury's resolution to convict Melina. And the only people still demanding Melina's blood was the Hollow family. And after the closing statement, the jury parleyed for a few minutes, and when they returned, they unanimously agreed that Melina was guilty. This naturally drew great animosity from the local crowd, and to appease them, Judge Regis quickly sped out Melina's sentence, and he said, "For the crime of accidentally killing Sir William Hollow in lieu of the death penalty, you must pay reparation of 10,000 gold coins to the Hollow family." And this sentence had a precedent, and whenever a child of a rich family killed someone of a lower status, if the case ever went to court, the rich family was to pay a fine to avoid the death penalty. And as to be expected, the Hollow family was appalled by the fact that Melina was not sentenced to death, and since the members of the family were growing restless, started to scream in a thunderous voice, "A call for a trial by combat." Trials by combat were discontinued decades ago, Sir Titus, said Judge Regis. "There's no other way to solve this dispute peacefully, and the Hollow family demands blood, and they will not be silenced until they have a chance to obtain it," explained Titus. "Maybe so, but Melina will need a champion," said Lord Sailor. "Maybe yes, maybe no," said Titus. And to bring the matter of Melina to a closure, the Hollow family agreed to a trial by combat, and trials of combat were legal duels, and both grieving parties would have a champion fight on their behalf, and it was believed that the winner was favored by the gods, and thus the victim would be considered not guilty. And Lord Sailor had agreed to the revival of his outdated costume for his own nefarious reasons, and the current household of the leader of the Hollow family, when Hollow, was not too familiar with trials by combat, and he did not know that if his family failed, then his brother Sir William would be done for. And not taking the state seriously, Sir Wen called upon the strongest man in the group to fight on his behalf, and the man chosen was Sir Walter, the Iron Tower. Time, bro?
4 minutes.
The official duel took place at night in the dueling grounds of the castle, and the townspeople were treating it like a sport. And duels were one of the few occasions where the common folk were allowed to enter the castle grounds. And Imperia had herself offered food and wine to all of the commons, and the arena had a raised stage where the nobles would sit, and the rest was surrounded by a fence behind the commoner who stand and watch the show. and Melina and her party were sitting in this section, and the whole family was also sharing the space with their benefactors. And the field was large enough to hold jousting events, and the trial by combat, however, was a good old-fashioned duel. And duels were pretty popular back then, and the nobles would settle their differences with their dress swords, like rapiers. And even though trial by combat and by ordeal had been discontinued, the practice was still fresh in the people's mind. When the promised hour came, Sir Walter entered the field, and he was clad in an iron black armor, and his metallic shield depicted a dragon, and he used a double-edged sword as a weapon, and he stood there patiently waiting for Melina's knight to enter the fray. And Sir Walter was shaken to the core when he saw Melina's knight, and Lord Sailor entered the arena armed with a large steel mace and a wrought-out dagger, and instead of armor, Lord Sailor had opted for the addition of a long winter coat with lots of furs around the hood. And shockingly, Lord Sailor said, "I'm a bit rusty at battle, so please go easy on me." Sir Walter said nothing, but he casually made his way towards Lord Sailor. And Lord Sailor just stood there, taking a few practice swings in the air with his large mace. And without warning, Lord Sailor rushed at Sir Walter with the mace, and though Sir Walter tried to parry Lord Sailor, the force of the blow made the knight's shield bend, breaking his shield arm. And despite this, Sir Walter managed to stab Lord Sailor in the shoulder, and when he drew the sword back, Sir Walter was disappointed to see that his blade had failed to injure his enemy. And without a shield, the knight drew back a pace, and he started holding his sword as if it was a rapier, and even if his stance changed, Lord Sailor tried again and again to strike at his foe. But Sir Walter kept avoiding any fatal blows, and from time to time Sir Walter managed to give a surface wound to Lord Sailor, a stab here, a scratch there. Now that he had gotten used to Lord Sailor's pacing, Sir Walter could play the waiting game and bleed Lord Sailor out. And during this section of the game, Melina yelled, "Boo! The fight is boring and you should feel bad. Sailor, win already, will you?" And Lord Sailor caught Sir Walter's sword with his bare hand, and before Sir Walter could retrieve the sword, Lord Sailor had pulled it from his cold dead fingers, and Lord Sailor turned to face Melina, was still holding onto the blade with his bleeding hand, and in a thunderous voice he said, "You ungrateful bitch! This is the sense I get for defending your honor?" "No one asked you to," said Melina. "Just win the battle already, and who are you trying to impress?" Time, bro?
1 minute 40 seconds.
She added to the knight, "And you, Lord Sailor, has turned your back to you. Why don't you take the kill shot with your hidden blade?" "Who sat on your arm?" said Lord Sailor, shaking his fist. I'm on my side, of course, and it's just that these honorable duels make tedious matches. I mean, both of you fools are fighting for your life. It is natural for one to do everything you can to survive," asked Melina. And Gala's elbow Melina and whispered, "You're not an eye, you wouldn't understand, and quiet, you're hurting your own cause." "Fine, I'll be good," said Melina, "but only because I want this dreadful day to end already." And Lord Sailor nodded in response, and he felt a strong wind coming from the south, and he started having to drag this battle in the middle of a storm, and for this reason alone he made a mad rush, and he drew his mace at Sir Walter's hand, and it took a few seconds for Sir Walter to recover from his dizzy blow, and by then Lord Sailor had stabbed Sir Walter with his robot dagger with his good arm, and with both arms wounded, Sir Walter was no longer able to continue fighting. Alright, time, bro?
Hey, less than a minute.
Alright, we'll leave it here. Bye-bye and God bless.